And just like that, it's Wednesday night. We're back on StreamYard where we know how to operate it. So,
and it works.
Yay. Yeah. Things are progressing along quite well.
Yeah.
So I'll be, I think I've kind of got this figured out. StreamYard limits the number of hours that we can stream on StreamYard because I don't have a plan. So the smart thing to do is I'm just going to jump back and forth from EVMux and this, and we're going to try to use EVMux as little as possible because, let's face it, it's completely different, and I hate it just because it's completely different.
It's new and different.
Good. And so I'd rather be on the Old Faithful, even though the Old Faithful is trying to charge me rent for their spatial product.
Right.
So,
and I noticed first time I ever noticed the little duck in the upper right-hand corner right there. Yeah. It's got a little money sign right on its headphones. So yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
He's now the money duck.
He's a money duck. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't get the post up until late. I had to fight with StreamYard to make it work, but now I figured out the workaround. Okay. So we got in first tonight, of course, like always, LP94, Mr. Lars, giving us the thumbs up. Bobby Frizzell, good evening, suckers. Fab Race Mod Repeat, hello from Northeast Dragway. Slant Daily Garage, what's up, suckers? Matthew, hi, everyone. Indecisive Garage, 6th Street Garage, One-Eyed Cat, 38 Racing, Keith Calitri, KS Skyhawk, Mama M3, Nick the Van Man 90, Danny Boyd, Mama M3. Let's see, I'm starting to repeat him. Andrew Nelson, and he says, oh, I missed it. Andrew Nelson says, good evening from Team Nivlac 57. I hope you're feeling better after your surgery, buddy. Let's see. Levi's Backyard Performance says, evening, gents, currently in Atlanta, Georgia.
Ooh.
And well, you're absorbing some nice weather compared to your mundane weather you're having up there in Indiana or Ohio or wherever he's from. So, yeah, you suck up that sun while you're down there.
Nick the Van Man did a burnout in a switch pitch today.
See that? How cool is that?
Right?
Yeah, he sent me pictures. He was working on like this Skylark with a 401 nail head in it. So,
it's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I guess so. Big changes. There hasn't been any real big changes since last week, except for we're on StreamYard, so we're much more familiar with how to use it and less downtime because of newness. Let's see. There is no questions in the chat yet tonight. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, 6th Street Garage says Shane Dallas, or anyone who knows what was the last year Buick made revisions to V8 engines. Cool intro. Well, it depends. Okay, so the last year of the 455 or the big block series engine that was a revision was 75 and 6 had open chamber heads, a little bit taller deck, and that was the last couple of years of that. 75 was also the last year of the update for the Buick small block where it got larger exhaust valves. It went from 150 to 155 exhaust valve, and I think they actually, let's see, it gets weird there. I'm wrong because somewhere in like 75, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there, they pulled the windage tray, the factory windage tray out, and they ran it for a couple of years without a windage tray. And then the last couple of years they put it back in. So I don't know if that was a casting thing or just revisions, but the last major revision I'm aware of is the cylinder heads going to the larger exhaust valve. Plus, it goes to the dual water port, what they actually call the peanut. I guess is what the kidney bean. That's what it was called. The kidney bean water jacket in the center of the cylinder head. But I think that was the last revision I'm aware of. Okay. Let me catch up. Andrew Nelson says, thanks, Dallas. Recovery is going well. Well, I'm hoping so. I hate to see you. This would be like the second year in a row you've had like a shoulder surgery. So, man, I know how long it takes to recover from that stuff. Let's see. Levi says here, Indiana, yeah, I'm enjoying the weather here, but I'm in a big city. Oh yeah, big cities suck, dude. If you don't have to drive anywhere, it's not too bad.
I like them on like a bicycle, and I'm used to it in San Diego. It's awesome.
Danny Boyd says, nice dual carb Slant 6 behind Shane.
That's
and
right.
if you haven't seen Shane's new short, you should run over there after this live is over so you can see the wah wah wah.
Yeah, I went full. What I was playing around, so yeah.
Let's see. Okay, Levi's back here. Performance says, thanks, don't. I need it. LOL, I'm out of my comfort zone. Okay, so yeah, I don't know why he said that. He says he's not a people person, but he's legitimately a people person.
Right.
If you ever met, huh?
I agree. Right. He is. Yeah.
Yeah, he is very much a people person. But he may be feeling uncomfortable just because he's at this trade show and that might not be his gig, but he is very much a people person. So, all right. Nick the Van Man says, Professor P, any word when the DLC lifters will become available in hydraulic for the small block Ford?
I'm actually texting right now to find out when that happens.
Oh.
I'll find out in just a few minutes.
Well, I will tell you when it's not. It's not April 5th of 2025. Because that already happened. Let's see. Danny Boyd says, I'm not a people person. I'm a person's person. I don't know. I'm very much a people person, I guess. But, oh. Yeah, and here you go. Lars, put up your short. So if you get a chance, click on the short here and head on over to Slant Data Garage and give it some eyeballs. So,
did he say hydraulic? It was Van asking for the Ford hydraulic?
Yeah, this is the Ford small block hydraulic flat tappets. DLCs.
Huh. I'm checking right now.
Blue Grit Garage says, I already bought a set of DLC Hydry. I don't know what that is. Probably hydraulic lifters. I bet he hit enter before he finished the whole thing.
Yeah, that's for the Chevrolets. They came out already.
Oh no, he's saying I received my DLC Ford hydraulic lifters.
Okay, yeah. So I think they
are out.
Yeah,
maybe I was wrong. Maybe they did come out April the 5th or before.
Yeah, so I think they're out, buddy.
6th Street Garage, no problem. Hopefully that leads you in the right direction.
Yeah, because I'm testing right now in here in this engine is the Mopar hydraulic ones. So I got the first ones here. This is some beta versions. So I'm going to put them in here and give them a go.
Oh, so KS Skyhawk's here. He's also a 350 Buick enthusiast, a small block Buick enthusiast, I guess. And he's saying 79 X motor, no windage tray. So they did take it out for like a year or two, and then immediately put it back in, which I found was super weird. But also, yeah, that's one thing I forgot to include. 75 and later comes with the cap screw rods. So those are the good rods that everybody wants.
So Nick the Van Man, you probably can't find them because they're probably not on the website yet. But if you're in the No Name Nationals, go.
Yeah, Blue Grit's already ordered them. I bet you Blue Grit ordered them through the No Name Nationals deal and is registered, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're registered or whatever, we have a contact, Alex So. I think it's ASO at edelbrock.com. And just tell them who you are, whatnot, and they can get you fixed up because it's probably not a part number that's listed, but they probably are available. And if Blue Grit Garage wants to put the part number up, that would be awesome because I actually don't even know it off the top of my head.
Well, didn't you have a magazine? Do you get the magazine there? Because it might have had the part number on.
Yeah, I got rid of it. It was
cleaned
off this desk. I cleaned it off. Sorry.
Jeez,
I cleaned up around here.
I'm a doctor, not a miracle worker. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer, not a miracle worker. Okay. So, let's see. Bear Rose Garage says that Slant 6 is like a Dunlap crybaby, the only pedal I own. So, I don't know what that means. I was trying to
figure it out. I was like, oh, okay. Well. Anyways, Junkyard D, he's right above the the Mopars yet? No, they're not yet. Like I said, I'm still testing them right now. These are the hydraulics, where we're going to make sure that they're working well. I can tell you that once you pump them up, they do not pump down. So because I run these off the bottom, I wanted to check that out. So I had to let them sit overnight with full spring pressure just to get them to bleed back down to get the valve back on the seat. So they're working very well. So they're going to work fine.
Bobby Frizzell says Alex is awesome. I talked with him today and I ordered some stuff.
Good.
So I need to probably get registered so I can order some things.
Yeah.
But, and I'm usually like one of the last people that registers. John's always giving me crap. Like, dude, I know you're coming. Why are you not registered? Like, $75 is a lot of groceries. You know, had to choose whether to eat or not. Right. Yeah. Let's see. Dylan Levi says, I'm a people person when it comes to my people, but as soon as I'm out of my world, I'd rather talk to a wall. Some people just don't understand. Not everyone is a sports ball guy or beer drinker. Yeah.
Dude, we've said this so many times.
I can so sympathize with this comment.
If I'm at a place and no one talks about cars, I just want to go. Like literally, if there's a ball game on or a Super Bowl, I just want to go home.
Dude, I remember when that meme came out like 5 or 6 years ago on Facebook where it showed the dude standing just standing there next to like a swing set and like bored looking, and then he's standing on the beach like bored looking, and he says, when you go to a wedding and no one talks cars. And that is me my whole life. I can if this was one paragraph out of the book of my life, it would be this same paragraph all the way through the book of my life.
Absolutely.
I totally did not fit in high school. Everybody else was sports ball and getting drunk and high. And I'm like, man, does anybody ever see what happens when you change the cam in a 318 Magnum? You know, right. No, we were busy getting high this weekend. Well, I wasn't.
I was doing other things.
Yeah, I was feeding my own addiction.
Right?
Yeah. Let's see. Dylan Levi says, do you have a DLC LS lifter? No, these are for flat tappet setups. I don't know if anybody runs a flat tappet in the LS, but that'd be like going really backwards.
Yeah. There'd be no reason to do
that. So Dylan Levi, the lifter is coated. It's a flat tappet hydraulic, actually it's a solid or a hydraulic lifter.
I got
the
one
face of the lifter itself is coated with DLC, which is diamond-like coating.
I got some right here.
You know what?
I got 16 of them. So basically, if you can see it here, because
it's black.
Yeah, it's totally black, but that's the DLC coating. It's literally like a mirror.
Right. It's like carbon impregnation is what it is. Yeah. It's like in the pores of the steel. So what happens is if it gets hot, it releases the carbon, which becomes a lubricant.
Yeah. So you can see them just like that. It's literally just like glass.
So I'll see if I can get my phone here real quick. I got it over here charging on the bed, and I see it going nuts. But that's not why I'm getting it. Why I'm getting it is Bobby Frizzell says, I never paid the 6-cylinder any attention till I seen a wild V6 yesterday. Now I kind of want one.
They're fun.
Well, you should see what he sent me. Okay, let me get it real quick.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I got to tell you, Bobby, man, I enjoy them. That's why I like messing around with the Slant 6 is they are smooth as glass. And when you're going down the road 80 miles an hour and you've got your buddy in your car, and you're driving in a 69 Dart doing 80 miles an hour, and the car is driving smoother than their brand new, whatever they've got. And this thing's just humming along, and they just look over and go, wow, this thing's awesome. Like, yeah, that's why I drive one. 69 Dodge Dart. That's all I got to say.
Okay, so I'll get this rolling off. It is a Facebook Marketplace ad. Okay.
Okay.
Where's my camera?
Go full John Wilburn.
Can you see it?
It's blown out.
I don't know why it's so white.
You know what? Send it to me. Send me a picture, and I'll put it on mine.
Okay. All right. And then I'll explain it here in a second. Okay.
Yeah, I'll hold it up while you explain it. I got some cool stuff too to show later. I got some cam cards for this thing. I'm coming up with my own Slant 6 cams. So.
Okay, you should have it, dude. So I get this text message on or Facebook Messenger from Bobby Frizzell, and he's like, "Man, look at this freaking thing!" And I'm like, "All right, cool. What is this? Let me and pull it up." Right. So it's a Nickens Brothers drag Buick V6. It is literally a stage 2 Buick V6 that was available over the counter from the Buick dealer.
So
Right.
awesome.
They want $1,500 for this V6, this drag V6. It's an absolute steal because the cylinder heads are $1,500, right?
Dude,
The roller rockers are T&D 1.7s or 1.8s, and they're like probably another $1,000 just for the rocker arm setup. The intake manifold is like $500 if you buy it used. The oil pan is it's a full dry sump setup. So you're going to need to buy the remaining pieces of the dry sump to put it together, but you're going to have like a $10,000 race engine that literally you paid $1,500 for.
Dude, this is buy this and go race in the Triple Crown.
You probably could, but it's a little small. It's like 270 cubes probably.
Whatever. You get the 2,700 pounds there and let it ride.
That would be a stage 2 V6 block. It's probably a handmade Bryant crank or a Weinberg crank, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's top end piece, man. I mean, like a serious piece. It makes probably 650 horse.
Right.
That's the cylinder heads I was telling you. That's like 423 CFM on the intake side.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's capable of making stupid numbers.
Did you see the video that Andy did with the Edelbrock walkthrough? Did you see that tour?
I did.
Okay,
I saw that handmade V6 intake manifold.
Yeah. Too. So there's a few of them there, and that will fit this.
That would fit that. Yes. That would fit that's those heads.
Yeah.
But I was wanting to like, so here's my thoughts on this. I'll let the cat out of the bag because I hope somebody does it one day. Okay. That V6 has the same bore spacing as the 300 V8. You could literally buy 2 sets of those heads, cut them in half, weld them back together because they're aluminum, and bolt them on the 300, and then have probably like a 850 horsepower 300 Buick.
That'd be awesome.
It would be awesome because nobody else has got one.
Would the block handle that?
Yeah, the block is capable of. So far, they say that it's capable of 800 horse because no one has pushed it beyond that.
Okay.
Because the block is deep skirt like a FE Ford, right?
Oh, okay, good.
Or like a Mopar big block.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Y block configuration, and then that it's high nickel content from the factory, right? So you could literally like probably hard block that block, and I bet it would easily do over 1,000 horse. And it's only a 2-bolt main setup, right? So if you were to cross drill it, because it's only 2 steps away from being cross drilled and bolted, because when you have a deep skirt block like that, they're literally a stone's throw away from being cross bolted.
Yeah,
just a couple of machine steps and you're good. But what I have been doing, like 300 Buick doesn't have any aftermarket support whatsoever for it, but the V6 Buick does, which is virtually the same engine. Mm-hmm. So what I found is you buy 2 billet main cap setups for the V6 Buick, and then you just put all the main caps in the 300 Buick. And so now you have billet main caps. You can put ARP studs in it, the same as the V6 Buick. And then if you wanted, you could girdle it, because they make a girdle for the small block Buick, which, gosh, I don't know how much horsepower you would have to make to damage the block at that point. I think whatever it would probably be, where it would get damaged is probably the lifters kind of just hang out in space. Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen them, like there's nothing holding them there. There's just like a casting that holds the lifter in the spot, and then the valley is open. I think what would happen is you would make so much horsepower at some point that you would require a big spring, and that big spring would damage the lifter bore and probably break it off. And
that's one of those things that you would just keep a flat top it then. You wouldn't put a solid roller on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if it's hanging out in space, a flat top it, you could probably get away with 400 pounds on the seat.
Well, what I was thinking is you could go really weak, like, I don't know. I guess you could keep it somewhere in like the 250, 300 range, for like over the nose, and then spray it, because nitrous oxide doesn't add any extra requirements to your springs, right? Like if you put turbo on there, your spring's got to get stronger to pull it shut and open it up, right? Like all that stuff.
Intake, yeah.
but when you're using nitrous, it's like not a problem. And those things love cylinder pressure. That's the thing. It's like the Buick. That's why the Buick V6 runs good with a turbo on it. It's what everybody found out in like 1985.
Right.
So,
GMs.
Yeah. Let's see. Wheelie King 71 says, I'm the same. I never watched a sports ball game in my life. I just can't understand. I can watch baseball. I can watch any of the sports. I understand them because I know what the rules are, but I don't get the thrill out of it. People are like, yeah. And I'm like, what just happened that made you want to do that?
Yeah. The only sport I can really watch that I played a little bit too is hockey. I played some soccer too, but hockey is the only sport I can watch and enjoy because you can fight. And I like that. Like that's part of the game. You can fight as long as until it can't do anything until it either hits the ground or one person wins is winning. The refs can't do anything about it. So I love that.
Let's see. Dylan Levi says, why not do this to a roller LS lifter? Is possible to extend the life, right? It's probably not worth the money to extend the life on it because the roller lifters go like as long as the hydraulic portion remains and the wheel doesn't fail, they pretty much run for like 200,000 miles.
Also, too, because it's so slippery, you would have a problem with skidding on the wheel. That's really what the problem.
Oh, yeah, the wheel wouldn't turn. Yeah, that would probably be an issue too. It has to have enough friction to turn it.
It would probably be on the base circles where you would have a problem. It really probably wouldn't. It actually wouldn't make a flat spot in the wheel, but it just would be skidding and probably make premature on the camshaft is what would happen.
Andrew Nelson wants to know, what is the extreme high horsepower level a Slant 6 can make? The four mains always made me shy away from them.
I don't know. I mean,
remember what's his name? Ryan Peterson that came to the Slanted Nationals had like a 66 or 7 Valiant.
Yeah.
And it was like Buick used to call it like a rosewood, but it's like a pink color.
Mm-hmm.
It was it Panther pink?
It's like a rosewood. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that thing had a turbocharged Slant 6 with a water-to-air intercooler and E85 on it, and it ran 620.
Mm-hmm. 620.
I think it's the best pass it ran that weekend, and he said that was 30 pounds of boost on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's people who've claimed 600. I personally have never seen it. The most I've ever actually seen in person go down the track was about 450, just under 500 horse. And that was a turbocharged Slant on fuel injection. But really what it is not the mains. It's really the head. There's only so much air you can flow through it to the ceiling. And they're 7/16 bolts. Now you can drill them out to a 1/2 inch, but then you really only have 4. And it's really the head gasket where it goes by where the lifters and the push rods are. They tend to blow out there. I've blown so many head gaskets there when I was still learning them.
KS Skyhawk says TA order received today. 1 pair TA intake gaskets, 1 oil pump gasket set, $63. I don't know what sub T $30 shipping and whatever. I appreciate limited source to Buick, Texas, greased. So I'll give you some insight on almost every part they sell is made by another manufacturer. I'm not going to go as far to tell you who, because there's multiple, but I try to buy TA parts when I need TA parts, and I don't go to TA to pay the Buick tax. I go there to buy the parts that are primarily TA parts. The rest of the parts I will go to Summit and order with a part number from say Melling or Seal Power or something like that. I very rarely go to TA unless it's something that I have to get from TA. So Danny Boyd says he's pretty sure they made those V6s for NASCAR too. Yes, they were one in the same program. It was the Buick V6 Stage 2 program, and they were available for over-the-counter. Most likely that's just a hopped-up version with more compression than the NASCAR version. And that's probably because it has the NASCAR intake on it. So I'm assuming it has, and the Stage 2 heads are the same across the board. I imagine it just has a drag racing specific camshaft and most likely more compression. Now, if it's the 4.1 liter block, that's a completely different story, because then that block is like a 4.1 liter V6 stage 2 block is probably worth a couple of grand just by itself used. So, all right. Well, you know what? I didn't even Nick the Van, man. Did I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I did. And thanks for sending us $5, man. That keeps the lights on. That keeps the StreamYard fed at this point.
There's actually another one. Bear Rose just put one up.
I'm hitting that one right now because I forgot to mention thanks to Nick the Van Man. Okay, so Bear Rose Garage sent $10. Says, Shane, does Edelbrock have any plans to offer carb intakes for the fuel-injected tall deck 460 Fords? There's millions of them out there, and no one is offering Go Fast goodies for them as far as I know.
Bear Rose, here's what you need to do is send that. It's Pulido@edelbrock.com. Just send me that and to my email, and I will forward that. But here's the thing is that because I'm in the engineering and I'm in the R&D department, I can't talk about what we're doing because obviously, secrets get out. What I can tell you is that whenever you guys send me this stuff, I do post it, and I do tell the people, the powers to be, what people are looking for, and it doesn't go on deaf ears. I promise you that.
I can attest to this because I threw him making a Buick 300 intake manifold again, and he was like, no, but he did run it by himself. So,
well, I did bring it.
He was like, how many you would think we're going to sell? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe 100. Was it worth it? Because the intake manifold would be like $3,000. Like, oh no, probably not.
Yeah.
But just $600 for a factory intake manifold sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know what was interesting the other day on my Facebook Marketplace, some Greg Gessler ported Buick big block cylinder heads came up for sale. Brand new, never used. Okay. So if you don't know Greg Gessler, he was like the Buick big block head porting guru, and he ran in that Fast series, the factory appearing stock tire car class.
I love that class.
He had the fastest car for like the first 5 years or so. The Buick that he was running was like a 71 stage 1, and he had hand ported the heads. Anyway, those heads came up for sale, which already has all the port work. Greg Gessler died like a year and a half or 2 years ago, I guess.
Wow.
And I thought, since these were brand new, I could take them to my friendly neighborhood machine shop that has those 5-axis CNC machines, and they could profile them. And then I could just sell ported Greg Gessler cylinder heads, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
Right. And you could take any standard Buick big block cylinder head that you could buy for like $120 and then just port them with the Greg Gessler porting with a 5-axis CNC machine. And I think it would do well, just because every standard big block Buick came with a stock set of heads. So, yeah, I don't know what it would be worth, but the heads were like $2,000. So, when you can buy an Edelbrock head for like $1,500, so for $1,000 more, you'd have like an Edelbrock cylinder head that would stomp a Greg Gessler head in the ground. Even though he did good work.
Yeah. But they weren't always the same. At CNC, they're always the same.
Yeah, they would be all the same. And then you could do it to any cylinder head. I was trying to do that, and I figured it'd be like $5-6 grand out of my pocket, but over the course of like 20 years, you would probably recoup it all and then some.
And would it be worth it, right?
I don't make good financial decisions. I don't. Okay. But it would have saved, a cylinder head profile for everyone else in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Which would have been kind of cool.
I look at it this way, man. If you look at it for everybody else, it never works out. But if you just did it for yourself, you could rationalize like, hey, I'm going to do this because I want to do this for myself and I want to have them, then rationalize it. Why do I mess around with Slant 6s? Because I enjoy them. They do absolutely nothing for anyone else. But for me, I think they're awesome. So
yeah, and that's how I was with the small block Buicks. I mean, when I was in high school, everybody hated the 350 Buick so much that generally what would happen is I would get a phone call, and then an hour later, somebody would be pulling up to my driveway at the garage. I had this little 1-car garage. It was an old garage from like an old house that used to be on our property, and it was falling down, and my parents let me use it. and people would just back up, throw the tailgate down, and the motor would fall on the ground. That's how I generally got them for free, right?
Awesome. As the Exxon Valdez, it would just spill oil right across
all over the driveway, everywhere. And then everybody would laugh as they drive off, but at least I got a heads up that they were coming. So I could go out there and pick it up. But they were so free that people would literally just drop them at my door, knowing I was the only dude around that would touch them. Yeah. And the sad part is, on Saturday night, you go to town, do your cruising, and just freaking lay waste to them with the same junk they dropped off in your driveway. So
I actually had an engine fall out the back of my truck, and I just kept driving. It was a Slant 6, and it fell out. I strapped it down, but I guess it had shifted a little bit, and this was in San Diego, and it had shifted a little bit, and it broke the strap, and then the deck went down, and then on 67, there's always those bumps right there. I hit a bump, the thing fell out, and I just was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, you can't go out there and pick it up.
How?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't just walk out there and just pick it up, throw the back of your truck, and be like, exactly. I'll never do that again.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the only thing you could do is drag it out of the roadway.
Yeah, but on 60, it was down that big hill, like that.
Coming from like El Cajon?
Yeah, Slaughterhouse Canyon. It was going down that hill, and there's those dips down there, and it fell right out. So it's
dude, those dips were like no joke.
Exactly. Now you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Those things were like, it's like the road collapsed and you would fall 2 or 3 feet.
Yes.
And it feels humongous in a car.
Yeah. And you're doing 60 miles an hour and you're like, whoa, that's awesome.
60. Okay. Yeah. Southern California, 60, maybe, more like 82.
Well, I was saying, but see, 82, that means I'd been speeding, and that's what I only speed Mexico. So.
Oh, Danny Boyd's saying that $2,000 was a steal for those Gessler heads. It was a good price. I could have done it. I would have had to pay probably $1,500 for the transfer fee for the digitizing, but then I would have had, I don't know. By the time it's all said and done, maybe $4,000 in the whole deal, and then I would have to buy some cylinder heads to get the whole thing rolling. It would take me a while to recoup the money, I think, but I could literally just poop them heads out probably for around $1,000 a set. Being that the case, because once you get the profile done, it's just time in the machine. That's all you're paying for.
Well, it's actually a lot more than that. I think that
is it.
Oh yeah, because here I do a lot of this stuff. So literally, it's not just getting the heads and then scan. You have to scan them, and then you're gonna have to 3D print it to make sure it's right, and you're gonna have to do a negative. Then you're gonna have to do a positive test on it to make sure you're all the tools. And the biggest thing is going to be the tools, because the tools are like, they're about a foot long to get in there. And it's, and it's going to be moving around, and they dull out fast, especially on aluminum, because it's going to be a high flute.
Oh, so, these were cast iron. So,
but cast iron, then is, you can run carbide on cast iron, but still then you got to run them slower. So there's,
well,
I'm going to say probably $15,000.
Just the programming for that porting is no small job, Dallas. Exactly. First, they would have to be scanned and modeled. Then alone would wipe your 5 or 6K, then programmed, fixtured, set up, proven. Big project. Well, I actually, so where I took my engine to be dynoed is the place that CNC ports, I don't remember. What did I tell you it was? FE Ford. Like, I don't know what it is. Speedmaster? No, it's some knockoff head like that, right? But they're for the FE Fords, and he does every single one of them. So I asked him about it. I said, hey, what does it take to get something like that done? And he's like, oh, it's $1,500 to digitize it. And they have some kind of scanner that you run the scanner on it. And I don't know if you can do it in the port. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't go any further than just to ask the guy, but he did tell me it was $1,500 to digitize them. And I thought, man, you could probably do a set of those heads. And what would be kind of cool is you'd take that Porter's legacy and make it live longer than them, right? And that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
So, okay. Bobby Frizzell. Oh, Loutburn says that's how he used to get 324 Oldsmobile engines. So
back up a drop.
Yeah. Exxon Valdez drop off. Let's see. Bobby Frizzell says, Shane, you need a split header on that Slant 6, run some cool dual exhaust.
I had it. I had it for the long time. Actually, I just took it off. I want to go back to a single on it. I had Doltra duals on there that went from a 2 to a 1, equal length and everything that was on here. It ran great, but I want something that I don't want to make power anymore out of this one. I just want to make nice, reliable power that I can do. I just want to do 80 miles an hour on the freeway, and that's all I care about. Because I got Plan Z. That's my race car. So that head with that intake and the Ultra Duals, that's going on Plan Z. So this is just a stocker head, stocker exhaust with that, and those are basically stocker carbs, just two of them. So that way it's equal length. So that way I can even out my fuel distribution, and I'm just going to call it good.
So 38 Racing says, that's funny, Shane. I helped put a small block Chevy in a Buddy 65 short box. Had the old one in the back. First cruise, it fell out in a cul-de-sac, went back, and the two of us loaded it up.
Oh, my God.
So I don't know if I ever told you, like way back in the early 90s, in my day,
Right.
there used to be like these small junkyards in the middle of nowhere, out in like a field, right? And it'd just be like a junk collection from like 2 or 3 different people would just drop stuff off there, and they would just keep building. And then after a while, the EPA came in and shut them all down. They got crushed. But about 1990, there was one in the middle of nowhere, and my buddies and I, I can't say if there was any beverages involved, but we decided to go midnight shopping.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so we go like tromping out through this junkyard in the middle of nowhere. They don't even have dogs. I mean, it's like because no one feed them because the place doesn't open but once a week or something, that kind of place. And you would see them a lot from like the railroads. So if you rode the rails, you would see them because they're right there next to the railroad because it's like the cheap land nobody wants. We go tromping through this junkyard. There's 3 of us, and we stumble upon big block Chevrolet laying face down in the mud, right? And it's a 4-bolt main big block Chevrolet. And it's like, oh, this would be cool. So if you've ever picked up a big block Chevrolet, they're not light.
No.
So me and 2 other guys humped this big block Chevrolet like half a mile or mile back to the pickup truck. And we get it all the way back there, and we flip it over, and it's got the sleeve knocked out of the block, like the cylinder's damaged, right? And back then, this was before anybody really sleeved anything. I guess you could sleeve it, but it was like stupid money. You could get another big block Chevrolet cheaper, right? We hauled that 600-pound monster all the way out, and everybody was just like wiped out. We just got that, right? This one thing. And then it was like, I don't want to go back in, dude. And so we just literally kicked it out of the back of the truck right there at the end of the road.
Yeah.
And last time I ever went midnight shopping.
Hey, by the way, Dizzy put a super chat up, but he didn't ask a question.
Oh,
it went up. It went up.
Right past it.
Oh,
Dizzy. Thanks for help keeping the lights on, man. We're trying to keep the street yard fed. We generally have to make about $35 a show. So that we can keep, and that's not true, right? It's $35 a month. So
$35. But remember, they take 30%.
Oh, yeah. So we need landing at our door $35 a month to pay for StreamYard. But Google does take 30% of this. So $3. So your $7 contribution to StreamYard. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much. Because I'll tell you right now, if you guys keep those coming in, I don't have to go back on that other whatever the hell it is.
EMUX.
EV
Mux. There we go.
EV Mux,
yeah. Okay. Oh, man. Okay, so Tom Brown says, do you think a Saginaw 3-speed would hold up to a 350 Buick right around 400 foot-pounds? I don't know much about the Saginaw 3-speed, but what I do know is the T85 3-speed handles a jabillion foot-pounds of torque or pound-feet of torque or whatever because of the way it's designed. And I would assume that the Saginaw is kind of similar in those regards because, one, first gear is not super-duper low, right? It's like 270. Maybe 280 at the most, because you're going to look at it. Should be like 3/4 of a drop per each gear. So if you're looking at high gear being 1-to-1, you take it 3/4 down, it's going to be 2.8 2.25. Is that right? And then 3/4 down. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. 3/4. I'm doing it backwards. I'm doing it wrong in my head. I'm dumb. I'm trying to do math in public, and it's complicated math, and it's backwards. So let's see.
Here you go. People are now donating. Mama M3 just donated $20, so that way we don't have to go back on eMux. Perfect.
That's
Thank you.
funny. Yeah. But I would say yes, it probably can handle that 400 foot-pounds, because the 400 foot-pounds is only when you got your foot matted to the floor at 2,800 RPM and from first to second. But because the gear split on a 3-speed is not as finite as a 4-speed is, right? You got bigger drops between the gears. The gear reduction in first gear is not so much that it's case splitting. I would say the Saginaw 3-speed probably has a better chance of living behind a 350 Buick than a Saginaw 4-speed by 75%. Okay, so Dizzy sent us that to buy us a beer. Well, okay, we'll use it to buy beer too. Let's see, and by beer I mean StreamYard time. Okay. Loutburn says, open the clutch on my 57 Chevy, broke both the U-joints. Op tested the clutch of my 57 Chevy, broke both the U-joints, and the drive shaft passed me and went right through the intersection. That's sweet.
Bravo. Have you ever seen the picture? There's a picture somewhere on the internet where there's a guy launching, and there's literally a crankshaft laying on the ground, and he drives over his own crankshaft.
Is that fuel altered?
Yes.
By the name of Magic Muffler.
Yes.
That was Lion's drag strip picture. It's very famous.
I almost did that if I didn't have a drive, my drag link. The drag link is what kept my drive shaft from bouncing and me running it over. When I got the nitrous tune wrong one time, and I hit it too soon. I built too much cylinder pressure at too low of an RPM, and I sent that. It broke right off it broke every single bolt on the converter, broke it right out. The converter was basically almost stuck to the end of the crankshaft. It bounced on that. It destroyed everything. It was amazing. It was awesome.
Lori Comboy says, I have an opportunity to purchase a set of Greg Gessler ported nailhead heads that have gone 1080s in a 66 Grand Sport.
Wow.
The owner is 89 years old and retiring from racing. We do nailhead stuff to be different.
Wow. That's awesome.
Jump on those bad boys.
Yes.
I think it would be kind of cool, like even if you just ran them on your own car.
Yeah.
But it'd be even cooler if you brought them over here and let me pay to get them digitized, and then we just have a CNC profile for nailhead heads that were Greg Gessler ported heads. But that's just my opinion. I'm very biased. But yeah, get them and run them on your car. Those sound like an awesome plan.
If you get the Greg Gessler heads, I would see it. I would flow each cylinder port and see which one flows the best, then digitize that one. Because if they're hand done, they're all going to be different.
Oh yeah, they're all hand done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Bear Rose Garage says, I bought a 225 Slant from our pull apart, but it was on a Saturday and they had no way to load it. So cousin Mike lifted it out of the wheelbarrow and tossed it in the back of my F-150.
That's a man. Holy crap. They're heavy engines. They're actually, I think, about the same weight as a small block Chevrolet.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that cousin Mike probably didn't have children after that.
Probably.
That's just a thought.
Yeah.
As his nuts fell to his sock. Oh, man. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so Danny Boyd says GM used Ford top loader 4-speeds for a few years. I don't know about the 4-speed top loader. I do know they used the 3-speed called the Dearborn 3-speed. And that's the one that I was actually wanting to run in my super stock Buick, was the Dearborn 3-speed. And listen to this logic, okay? You had to run a manual transmission, Southeast gas, or super stock class. It did not say you could not run a 3-speed manual. Excuse me, the 3-speed manual, if you think about this logic, there's only 3 gears to go through. So you're already 25% better at hitting all the gears, right? You're starting out first. You only got to make 2 shifts.
You're only going to make 2 shifts. That's right.
And so I was like, man, if I ran a Dearborn 3-speed, which is a top loader 3-speed, I could run a really low rear end gear and have that high first gear. And she'd be scary out of the hole. But the problem really was, one, finding the Dearborn 3-speed, because they were only available from like 66 to 68, I think. And then after that, they went back to the GM standard transmissions. So the other one was, I did not want to bet the farm on that Dearborn 3-speed holding up. There's a reason why nobody else is using them. Like, if you think about super stock racing, 3-speeds have been around for a long time. No one ever went from a 4-speed to a 3-speed, but they did go from a 4-speed to a 5-speed.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some kind of downside to that. Yeah, and I think you'd have to have boatloads of torque to make that work.
Yeah, people have gone from 3-speeds to 4-speeds, but never the other direction.
It's never the other direction. I really wanted to try it just to see the look on people's face, like, you did what? But I'm pretty certain it'd be considerably slower. I don't know how you can't really gear it to make the gains, because if let's say you throw rear end gear, make it really low in the rear, you still got to run that RPM out the top end, right? So that's the problem. Let's see. Okay. I do also know that GM sold the Mopar A833 Overdrive in the trucks, in the CK square body trucks. It was called a MY06 option, and you could get the manual overdrive. And the reason why they called it MY06, because if they said Chrysler, 833, no one would buy it, right? Just like the Ford transmissions, the 3-speeds and the 4-speeds, they called them Dearborn 3-speed, Dearborn 4-speed, because they couldn't say Ford because no one would buy it then. But you throw the name Dearborn in there and they think, oh, it's from Michigan, it's good. Well, so is Ford. It's funny how they all shared parts. And if you didn't care about them sharing parts around, then you just went and bought an AMC, because it would have like your Ford distributor and your Chrysler transmission, and it was really shared around.
It was everything. Yeah, it was the slut of cars, right?
Yeah, it was the slut. So, Michael Schmidt says, humping a flathead 6 for a Plymouth Club member while listening to you guys. Hopefully you're not carrying it and letting your nuts fall out of your sock. Yeah, see, okay, Danny Boyd saying here, the 2 to 3 shift is a horrible split. I guess it's too much.
Yeah.
Yes, you could. Tom Brown says, Dallas, couldn't you get a 3-speed manual in a 455 GS? I believe, to tell you the truth, there was one 455 GS stage 1 made with a manual 3-speed. And see, that would be one engine, I do believe, that could pull the spread.
Did you watch that video? Did you watch
what I
went through?
Yeah, it made 520 foot-pounds of torque and 445 horse.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty healthy for really what they got.
Good. And it didn't sound radical. It sounded really decent.
It did sound good.
Yeah,
it ran so easy.
Yeah,
it was just like he said. It revved quick, right?
Yeah, it was like, wow. Yeah.
All right, KS Skyhawk says, Midnight Auto, mid-1960s, found 2 factory manual Buick conversions. Had to dig under one to get it out. Weird trans, only one each lever. So I'm assuming that's for the gear shifter.
Wow.
Huh. I don't recommend midnight shopping at the junkyard.
I've done it.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has. Yeah. But, especially when you go in there, it's just sitting under a motorhome. It's getting crushed, and the guy won't give it a price because he just wants to hold on to it, to hoard it. Mm-hmm. That's where midnight shopping came from.
Pick Apart had that little, by the Mopar section, and between the Mopar and the Ford section, there was that little runoff ditch there, and they would always have that chain link hanging down. That's where the water would run through.
Yeah.
If there was something you just didn't want to buy, you just threw it down there. And if you were out there, because remember, I used to ride my motorcycle out there at at Palm Avenue. Remember,
Uh,
because there was all that riding out there. I would just come over and pick it up.
I never did in San Diego. I imagine that San Diego would probably be the most lenient place to do it. I don't see why you couldn't. I know Illinois. Oh my God! In the freaking 90s, they got shot.
Oh yeah,
over something dumb, carburetor or whatever. But let's see. And did I pass Colleen T? Oh yeah, you already mentioned it. So she says no EMUX.
Yeah, no EMUX. So
yeah,
if you guys have never worked at a junkyard, you should at least do it once in your life. I worked at a wrecking yard. There was a time where I spent a little stint in Georgia. It was 96, 97, I think is when I was there. And I did for a year and a half. And I worked for this guy called Bob Pickerpart. And he had the Primo yard and where you'd pull the parts off, and then the other yard. And I was in college the first time. And man, I loved that job. It was so awesome because he would go away a lot. And then so we would have these yard cars, like they would come in, we'd have to get them running, and we would jump them. Like we had a track, and we would literally jump these cars, and we had a crusher. So the cars that he would ask, hey, did you get those cars running? Well, yeah, we got them running, but they weren't what the fuck. So we just crushed them. Okay. And he had train cars there. So you crush the cars and you put them on the train cars and they would pull them down. So we would go out there and we would have our own personal demolition derbies. And this yard was huge. I jumped a car. I just think about it now, because I was always in the Dodges. The other guy was in the Chevrolets. I had a Dart and he had a Nova. I mean, I think about it now. Mine was a 4-door, his was 2-door. And we were literally it was crash up derby at 30 miles an hour.
We did the same.
What's that?
My buddies used to do it in a local junkyard without even working there.
Yeah, it was
like awesome. You'd walk in, there'd be batteries in the car, and it was back when the jump boxes first came out, and you're like, all you needed was the jump box, and if the keys were in it, it'd run. If the keys weren't in it, the GMG body has to be one of the easiest cars on the planet to steal, right? Because you just go right up under the column, and the switch is just literally on the column, so you just freaking push the button down with your thumb, and it'll start up and run.
Dodges are easier. They have a rod. It's a rod that goes down with your key.
That's how it is for the GM.
Yeah, so the rod goes down and there's a little hook. So you cut the rod, you grab that, and you pull on it, and it starts up.
Oh, well, the GMG body was pretty easy. And all you do is you find one car in there with a battery, and you just take that battery, put it around, and use it as a ground, and then you put your jump box on it, fire it off. And we would spend 20, 30 minutes, get 2 of them running, and then you smash them up. But the problem is it's so much fun. They got the windows in them, and there's a reason why they have you knock them out for a demo derby, right? Yes. The other thing is, when you catch them on fire, bring a fire extinguisher.
Yeah,
right? Don't be dumb.
They burn black. They burn black. We caught many on fire. They actually would sometimes were still on fire when we would crush them, and they'd be burning on the train cars, because they're flat
smoldering
and just smoldering. They'd smolder for days,
Dude, I worked at one in San Diego when I first joined the Navy. I think I told you this. What was that place's name? I'll change the name because I don't remember it, and I'm just going to say something, but it's to protect the innocent here.
Okay.
There was a junkyard in San Diego that I went to work for, and it was something Mustang recycling.
Yeah. Don't say it. You're too close.
Yeah. And it was run, I'm pretty certain, by the mob. I don't know who ran it, but it was there was a phone number above the phone that was etched into the wall that if people showed up asking questions, you called that number and you hung up the phone and left. That was it. That was the extent of your training. Welcome to the Mustang recycling place, right?
I know right where that place was too, man. I know right where that place was.
Yeah, it was on the corner.
Yeah, I know right where that.
So it was one of the coolest jobs I ever had, because the first week I was there, they used to Shane and I, you've heard me talk about the Auto Trader. The Auto Trader was come out was it Thursday morning. Yeah. So at Thursday morning at 8 or 9 o'clock, you would be waiting at the Auto Trader turnstile thing to grab the Auto Traders that you wanted. So for me, it was classic cars, and they had one that was nothing but parts.
Parts. Yep.
Okay.
And the cycle trader. I got the cycle trader too.
I did not do the cycle trader, but when I worked at this Mustang place, me and this guy named Otis, he was this older black guy. He worked in the back of the yard. He knew where every part was. You could say, hey, you got this, and this dude would walk you right to it. He knew where every part was. He worked there for years. We would go pick up the auto trader. The boss wanted us to pick up the auto trader because, see, the junkyards are in direct competition with the buyer, right? Especially in the parts one. Okay. So if you can find something that's worth something and make a couple bucks on it, that's how the junkyard would stay in business. Well, it just so happens we get to Auto Trader that day, and bang, there's a 1965 Mercury Comet Caliente K-Code car in there. Okay, 289 hypo, 4-speed, solid lifter cam car. It might have been a Comet, or it might have been a Cyclone. I don't remember, but I'm pretty certain it was a Comet Caliente. I can't remember. But the boss was like, "All right, here's $3,000. They're asking." I want to say they were asking like $1,000, right? Get there, get in the truck, go get the car now, right? So we're like, okay, me and Otis driving. I'm just there like a week. We go pick up this Comet Caliente, and we go in the backyard, and the car is like literally, it's like someone parked it there 10 years before. But this is Southern California. You could park it there 100 years before, and it's not going to do anything to it. It'll burn the interior up. But that'd be about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, Otis, I'm pretty sure this thing will run. He's like, you think so? And I said, yeah. And then the lady was like, I'm not negotiable on the price. This was my husband's car, and he passed away. It's like, okay, here's your $1,000. And then I just went and got the battery. That like they have a spare battery in the tow truck generally. Just drop it in, and the Fords were all top posts. So you just put the 2 leads on, hit the key. It sucker started up. We poured gas in it. And then it ran like dew, it was solid lifter motor, so it probably needed all the valves adjusted. It had points that had been sitting for 10 years. And then the gas, who knows if it had ethanol in it or not, ethanol, because it may not have had ethanol. It depends when he parked the thing. But we drove it up onto that ramp truck for $1,000, took it, and then had both front fenders and like the hood sold off of it by the afternoon that paid for the car.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing was we would get truckloads of pretty much brand new Mustangs with the columns torn out that were parts cars. And I only worked there for like 2 months until I had enough cash to do what I wanted, and then I was out there. Thank God I never had to call the number. Okay. And Danny Boyd says that Chevy never used a Dearborn. Okay. I did not know that. So it's a BOP.
You're way behind if that's where you're at.
Yeah. Kenneth Brackett says that my 65 GTO came from the factory with a Dearborn 3-speed. Let's see. Oh, Tom Brown says, speaking of Nick's Buick dyno video, why do you think leaning out the jets from 83s to 81s actually made it run richer? Is it just the amount of carb signal? Okay.
I don't know, because I was watching that, and I really think he had a sensor issue. Personally, that's just my opinion.
I don't really know. To me, it just kind of blew my mind that would actually happen. I would have probably almost discounted the information after I pulled a plug and looked at it, right? Because it didn't seem to. It didn't even seem to hurt the motor when they changed the jets. Like the horsepower and torque numbers didn't really move.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's the other thing that I noticed was. And now this is something I'll bring up with you, Shane, and maybe some of the other viewers can chime in here. I heard him say in the video they looked at it was a Brawler carburetor, a brand new like Brawler. What do you say, 750?
I don't remember. Yeah,
it was a Brawler 750 or Brawler 850, but it's just like a Holly knockoff, right? Like everything is.
Well, it's actually made by Holly. It's a Holly Brawler.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. It's like their.
I wonder if it's a Chinese version of a Holly.
It's just a low end version of their Holly. So
Well,
it's like an entry level.
it has the plastic sight plug in the float bowls. Okay. Old Hollies didn't used to have that plastic sight plug. They had a hole. Well, it was essentially a weep screw. And you take the weep screw out and you would rock the fender, and if fuel splashed out, then you knew it was about right. If it was just pouring out, you had your float set too high.
Yep.
Head pressure in the bowl dictates a lot of things that happen inside that carburetor. If you have the correct jetting and your head pressure is too high, the carburetor will run like dog crap, no matter what, until you lean it out big time. They said at the beginning of the video, he said, it's right in the middle of the sight glass, right where you want it. When you have the sight glass, should it be in the middle or should it be at the bottom?
Okay, on the sight glass, because the sight glass is bigger than the hole. Okay, because the hole is tiny, the sight glass is much bigger. So what I do, this is how I set them up, is I put it in the middle for a reason. When I go to the track, if I'm running a little fat, I can actually drop the float level down, and I know that that half a turn will get me to the bottom of the sight glass, and that's like putting that's like stepping down one jet. If I'm running a little lean, I'll raise it up a turn. That'll put me to the top of the sight glass, and that's like raising it, adding a jet to it because of head pressure. Also, too, you're filling up on the metering block a little bit. So that's what I do. So I put it in the middle personally, and I tune for that on the middle, so that way I can adjust visually higher or lower depending on how it's running that day. Because I have a wideband when I go down the track, I record it. Okay, I'm a little off, and I can just fine tune it. It's a simple, easy way to do it. So
you think that it should be in the middle of the sight glass?
Yes, on especially on our Edelbrock ones like this here. I got one sitting right here because I was actually just playing with this. Like this, if you see how big this is, see how big that sight glass is?
And then that little screw hole is like 1/10 that size.
Yeah, so I put it in the middle of this, which is literally like at the bottom of that. So when you shake it, it just barely weeps out fuel. So I do that so that way I have an adjustment. I use the fuel bowl, the fuel as an adjustment.
That's how I always did it. Was if you wanted to richen it up without changing the jets really quick, just all you got to do is add more fuel to that bowl.
That's right. That's what I did. I just raise it up to a turn. Basically half a turn will do it. On mine now on these here, on these ones here, because it's a big bowl, you know, there's a lot of fuel there. So the head pressure slightly changes a little bit. So it's about a jet and a half on these.
Okay. Let's see. Andrew Nelson says I would have to see a GM with a Ford top loader. They did. It was called a Dearborn 3-speed, and it came in the Buick Olds Pontiacs. And it was standard transmission. Andrew Nelson says, what's the link to the Edelbrock online carburetor?
Oh, the Edelbrock online catalog. If you go to, just go to edelbrock.com at the very bottom, it says catalogs. Just click on it.
So Michael Schmidt says those suckers were stealing cars and selling parts from them. I don't think that they were stealing the cars. I don't know what they had going on. I'm assuming that cars were either stolen and before, and then probably the insurance dropped them. You got to remember this. When I was doing this was like 95, 6, and these cars would have been 3-4 years old, right? So if they got stolen, maybe the motor blown up, they might have totaled them. I don't know. I just know that we used to get them with the columns torn off all the time. So, and I never asked any questions. I was the low guy on the totem pole, and I didn't want to know too much. So Bobby Frizzell says Holly is a Chinese version of a Holly now. Long live the VRS.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to tell you here, man. Remember, me and Joe, just Mopar Joe, we still have a race coming up. We still have to do our 2 out of 3 match race. He's got a few things working. I've got a few things working. And we're going to, but it's probably going to be the VR Nationals between me and him.
So Andrew Nelson says to top to bottom of sight glass is a 3 equivalent. And I'll bet you,
That's what I said. So if I'm in the center on this right here, if I'm in the center of this and I go down to the bottom, that's a jet and a half. If I go to the top, that's a jet and a half. And that's how I tune it.
And I'm sure knowing Andrew, if he's throwing that knowledge out there, one, he's tried this, and two, he's probably mathed it out, to be honest
Oh,
with
yeah.
you.
Well,
The head pressure inside that bowl probably dictates,
yeah.
like it. I know like Shane and I were saying, one turn does a lot. Like it does a lot by changing the flow adjustment one turn.
I think on mine, I actually have it written down in my little notebook there. But when I make my first pass down the track that day, obviously everybody's got a handheld weather station nowadays. So your weather station, you just get that, you get the forecast for it, you make a pass, you get your air fuel mixture that gives you your corrected altitude, you make your correction on your float, and you're good for the day. And then you can just watch the temperature as it goes, and then that way you're safe to start hitting the nitrous. So I mean, it's a really, really simple deal.
Bear Rose says that it could have been the 81s pulled more vacuum through the circuit, so it was able to pull more fuel, even though it was smaller. Okay, so I mean, I'll throw my 2 cents out there. I think the air bleed was too small, and I think what you were seeing is it was sucking a ton of fuel through there. That's my take on it, but I'm not sure because those things they're very foreign to me. Hollies are very foreign, and then adjustable air bleeds and adjustable jets are just not my forte. If it's not a quater jet, I really am not good at them. I don't have a lot of experience with a Holly.
Well,
but
doing a lot
I know
of
it can't be a power valve issue. Huh?
No, I've done a lot of this stuff when we were doing this carburetor here. The thing is that there has to be a sensor issue because this is just physics, because it's PV equals nRT. I know we've all said this, but this is just PV equals nRT, pressure, volume, constant, rate, and temperature, right? So that's all it is. So if you're putting something smaller into something without changing anything else, and all things being equal, it should have worked the same. And that's when he started looking at plugs. Now, I didn't pay that much of attention to it because it was in the background while I was running this, but I didn't listen to every little thing. But if you're going to put smaller jets in it, it runs richer. And I remember him looking at the plugs.
It ran the same. It didn't really technically run richer.
Oh, okay.
It ran the same. It was really rich. And so he went down 2 jet sizes and it was still rich.
Well, yeah. Well, because usually I, if that means that he probably needs to go down another 2. He could have had.
Well, and that's what I know. My rule of thumb is if you're going to make a change, you make a change.
That's right.
Make 2 jet sizes is not a lot.
No, that's fine tuning.
Yeah. 4 jet sizes is generally the rule of thumb that you go when you're going to make a change.
Yeah. Because I can always change. Like I was saying, I changed a jet and a half by just moving this float up at, from the center down to the bottom. So I make a 4 jet change. And then if I make a 4 jet change and I keep it in the center and that's I'll raise the fuel up a little bit. Okay. That means that's another jet. So I'll put the jet back in it, put the float back at the side. And that's how I tune it. It makes it really easy. So that way you can make a pass. You don't have to come back and drain all the fuel out. You can just raise the float right there, turn the fuel back on and check it out. And if you know exactly that half a turn raises it X amount, you're good to go.
So Dizzy says, how much taller overall is the VRS compared to a Performance 4150 Holly?
I believe it's I think it's either 3/8 of an inch or half an inch. I don't remember. I think it's 3/8. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know.
It is taller.
It is taller. I think it's half an inch.
I remember you telling me that it was taller.
Yeah.
Because it was screwing up guys that had hood clearance issues.
Yes. Yeah. It's taller. That's the magic of it. Can't tell you why, but that's the magic of it.
Well, I'm sure it has something to do with the Venturi being longer.
I couldn't tell you a thing.
It has to be something like that. If you said if it's got 4 circuits, the only way you can do that is increase the Venturi length. Okay. And I guess we're caught up for now. I skipped over a lot of stuff. Hopefully we keep the lights on here this week would be nice.
Yeah,
so we have to shake everybody down for some cash.
Well, that's perfect. So that means if they do that, just not everybody, but just every once in a while they do that. That means that you can get a subscription from StreamYard, and we're going to stay on StreamYard. I like this so much better. This setup is so much better because I can actually read some of these. Sometimes it blips, and it gives me a date, it gives me a time, it gives me everything I want. It's right there. It's perfect.
Well, look at this here. Bobby Frizzell says the VRS is taller, longer, and a little wider. You need more space to stuff all that badass in.
Yes, it's definitely longer. In fact, when I made the Edelnator, to get to these, it's actually longer to this part than a Dominator. So just to give you a part, so like when you put the bowls onto a Dominator, those arms on a Dominator are longer, and to get the accelerator pump, they're actually longer. So I had to finagle things to make it work. So
You bent them?
I had to bend things. I finagled it.
Yeah. Now you have proprietary accelerator pump arms.
Absolutely,
Okay.
I do.
Let's see.
It's actually, it was
M3
actually
is
this.
asking, what is the AHRA yearly membership fee?
This is what I bent right here. Was this piece to make it work?
Yeah, that's the accelerator pump rocker arm, right? So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's asking me, what is the AHRA yearly membership fee? Well, right now it's $0, because I haven't been doing anything with the AHRA for the past couple of years. But when you were an annual member, I want to say the bare minimum, if you were just a fan, it was $35. If you were just if you're a basic member, I want to say it was $50 and you got nothing. And then for $65, you got a t-shirt and all that other stuff, decal. But that is going to have to change, because I didn't, if you remember the last year I was doing it, or was it, 22, I didn't adjust for inflation, which was currently happening. I was going to wait for things to settle out, and then I was going to adjust the price for everything, because I couldn't keep up. I mean, I had to change the price for the membership. I want to say the 3rd year I was doing it, and then it would have been again the 5th year. So this time I had just waited till everything settled out, because to change the website was like, I want to say it would cost me like $300 to change the website. And that's the thing that stuck in my craw, was that. And, now that I look back on it, back then when I first started doing it, everybody had a website for their business. And then everybody kind of transitioned over to free website on Facebook, and then did everything on Squarespace. Which gave you your free site. So I probably could have done away with the website, to be honest with you. It did cost me like $600 a year to maintain it, and to keep the hackers from, oh God, I don't know how many times it would get attacked a week. I had it before where it took the entire thing down and put up a faux web address, redirected everything, sent all the membership money to a bank account in Dubai, right? And I had to take the thing down for like 2 months to get that unscrewed up. But yeah, oh, you think I should go up to $80? That's what she's saying. I should go up to 80. And then Disney's saying I should go to 70. Do I hear a 75? Okay. Yeah, it was 65 if you had the t-shirt and the decal, I think. So when I bring it back online, if I bring it back online, because I've actually kicked this around. I'll bring it up here, because I talked to Shane about it. I've talked to a couple other people about it. Originally, when I first started this, the idea was to get it up and rolling. And in the first 5 years, what I would do is establish it to where I could give it back to the people. That's what the intended project was, through the original owner, with a guy named Jim Tice. He got pancreatic cancer and died. And then his family fought the tracks that tried to run it to keep the name. But Jim Tice had intended to share it amongst the tracks, and he let the 5 most active tracks run the organization. And then it fell on its face and died, and the whole 9 yards. What I've been considering doing is, like, let's say pick 5 to 7 people that would be willing to invest in the AHRA. And then essentially what we would do is run the AHRA again, except for you got 5 to 7 people as a board members, and they would work together to determine what the association wanted to do. And I would essentially just give it back to everyone that it belonged to begin with. And I would still be part of it, and I would still be a member, and I would still be part of the board, and the whole 9 yards. But I was thinking about doing 5 to 7 people, and then each person would have to toe some of the line. It puts personal investment in it, but yet you want to see the association go well. And then what can happen is somebody just sells their membership, or not their membership, just sells their partnership in it to somebody else, and they're in. So you could do it like that. And that way you keep it completely public. It's run by the people that really want to see it go. And I don't know. That's kind of what I've been kind of kicking around as an idea. I don't think I'm ever going to have the money to run it again, or the resources to run it again after this is all over. So, all right. Bear Rose says, if I had a choice between a VRS and a Holly double pumper, I have. I'd cut the hood and be happy with the VRS, but that's me.
Yeah, it's worth it if it's about speed and make it work.
I think Mopar bought all the, or not Mopar. Edelbrock brought the rights to the Carter carburetor, which is the Edelbrock. AVS
is our AVS and the AVS 2.
Okay, that's the one that pretty much came on every muscle car. Okay,
yeah.
Did they buy the rights to the thermal quad as well, or everything Carter?
I don't know. I don't know that one, because I know for a while we were selling we were actually selling Q jets for a while.
I know they had Q jets too, way back in the day, in the 90s and probably early 2000s.
Yeah,
but they were all Imrod Q jets. I don't know if they were manufacturing or they were just rebuilding them. They were going to a rebuilder and have them rebuilt. I think that's what they were. But Imrods used to be available through GM up until 2005. So then once those went away, I could see the Edelbrock Quadrajet going away. But the reason why I ask is if they bought the rights to the AVS from Carter, which used to be the Carter AFB, right? Mm-hmm. If they bought all the rights, that thermoquad would probably be an ideal thing to bring back, because they had 1,000 CFM thermoquads. They were pretty bitching, and they did fix a lot of the problems with the Quadrajet.
Yeah, the biggest issue with that is going to be because we have the VRS now, so to bring back something like that ancient, Technic for real, you're trying to. The whole idea to this is to keep really exciting parts out there, and keep as little skews as possible. So what I'm getting at is that if you're going to put something with jets in it, you're going to want something that already has the jets that you already have, that uses the same jets that you've already have.
Yeah.
So
that would be a thermoquad.
What's that?
That would be the thermoquad. It uses I'm not saying bring back the Quadrajet. I think that's a very big undertaking, because you got to have an entire array of everything, right?
Yeah, but to have the thermoquad though, you're gonna have to have
it's very close to the ABS.
It's close, but it's different. It's close.
I would definitely do that, because then it gives you an option to all those GM folks that have a Quadrajet. They can literally bolt on a carburetor on the intake manifold, the factory manifold, and go. Mm-hmm. But they can technically do that with an AVS. But that AVS is some of the cars it doesn't work well on.
Yeah, I had an AVS on this car forever, and I love it. The simplicity of them, and the just how rock solid reliable they are. I really enjoyed them.
Well,
for medium horsepower, they work well.
I was just wondering what happened with that. I figured to ask. Let's see here. Okay. It says, Dan, the Ford toploader 3-speed with stock transmission in base, non-tri-power equipped 64 to 66 Pontiac GTO. Okay. KS Skyhawk says he's running the 850 Quadrajet on a small block Buick. I don't know if it's using all that, but it definitely won't hurt it.
Yeah. It must make a hell of a sound when it opens up. Whoa, whoa.
Dude, what's funny is my Suburban has one of those on there, and it doesn't really have the wah sound. It just sounds like you got it wide open.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't sound like wah, but and the Easy 302 didn't sound like that either when I whacked the throttle open on it.
I think the most quintessential one, my buddy had a 454 Chevy in his truck, and when he had Quadrajet on it, I just remember him hitting it, and it had that whoa, and he had the air cleaner flipped upside down. You're in.
So I got on the Suburban. I actually thought about being a smart ass and putting the Buick air cleaner decal on the underside of the air cleaner because the lid's always up.
Yeah.
Yeah, BNR says Edelbrock quadrojets are prized today, and they are. I know they are because I seen one on eBay for $570.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. We get those things returned all the time.
Edelbrock quadrojets?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude. Well, hey, let me know when the next scratch and dent sale is.
You know where they go?
Really?
Yes.
Do they sell for like $570?
Wow.
Dude, grab them for me. I'll take them.
Wow.
Yeah, because they were actually made by Rochester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're legit pieces. It's the same as like a GM carburetor, except for they were universal. And you could get them, what they called was M4 MV, and then you had the M4M. And I think that's the one that Edelbrock made was the M4M, where you could have a manual choke on it.
Oh, okay.
Right? That was like, as far as I know, the only place I've ever seen a manual choke on a quadrojet was on a boat. And generally the quadrojets always had either a gas tube choke or a divorced linkage rod choke, or some of them had an electric choke like a pickup trucks did. BNR says the air cleaner element needs to be 4 inches tall at least for 1,000 CFM. Right. And he's probably serious because that's probably legit.
Yeah.
Let's see. And he says the Moroso Dominator air cleaner is badass, massive, cool. Dude, I used to love those things. They were so tall. And they looked good on just about anything.
Yeah. I still have my Moroso, and the base is flat, and it's got this like little curve on it. Oh, yeah. It looks badass.
Fabrice Mod Repeat says Dallas new channel Edelbrock Q-Jet Rescue. I'm going to do some midnight shopping over at Edelbrock. I'll be back with some Q-Jets. They would probably call somebody in to help me haul them off. Let's see. BNR says that Edelbrock still has high build standards. Only custom one-off gets better. I got some surprises because Professor P scored me some intake manifolds from the Scratch and Dent digger that are going to fit my Vortec Easy 302. And we're going to slap a cam in that sucker and send her to the moon. You thought them 6 women going to the atmosphere was cool? Wait till you see this.
That's right. This one actually will scream better.
Yeah, this will scream hard.
That's right.
And what did they say when General Motors, somebody told me this the other day, when General Motors first tested that engine before it went to the first race at Trans Am, they put it on a dyno at like the peak horsepower number, which was like 7,200 RPM. And people in the area thought it was an air raid siren and called the sheriff.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, huh?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, yeah. Generally, it's just us BOP guys that like the quadrojets because we're the ones that got them all the time.
Makes sense.
The Chevrolets, if they were a performance model Chevrolet, they came with a Holly. So, yeah, if you didn't know that. Yeah. Us BOP guys, if it came with if it was like a performance piece, came with just a Q-Jet. So all right. And then that's again, as Dean Stevenson's pointing out, that's your Q-tip for today.
There you go. Q-tip did it. I like that. That's good.
Let's see. BNR says I was on DCI Pontiac Live earlier. It was DCI Ram Air 4 night. Oh, I don't know what is DCI.
I have no idea.
It must be like the manufacturer that makes Pontiac parts or something.
I must not be friends with them because I don't get notices with them.
Oh, I don't know them either.
But I want to bring this up. So earlier I was showing this to Dallas since we got no questions coming in. So I'm going to be making my own line of Slant 6 cams here pretty soon, and I was showing this to Dallas. If you can read that right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
Slant Daily Garage quarter race.
This the Slant Daily Garage quarter race and the
The
customer
beater with the
statement.
heater.
It's the beater with the heater. So this cam right here in this one is 212, 218 on a 110. It's a low lift, 444, 444. So this is hydraulic. So this is actually going to act like if it was like, say, about 8 degrees more. So it's going to be like in the 220 degree. If you had a mechanical one, you had a big lash on it. So I'm hoping it's not too much. The idea is I want something that's smooth. I want something that I can drive anywhere I want to go. So this is the quarter race cam, and then I'm going to come up with the RV cam that's going to go in the Creamy Beaver, and then I'm going to make a 3/4 race cam that's going to go in the Plan Z 2.0. The one that me and Dallas are going to leave parts of Plan Z all through the Tennessee and Upper Georgia and
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
The only pieces that we're going to leave are microscopic rust pieces from the trunk. That everything else has already fallen off or has been drilled.
There's nothing in the trunk, dude. It's a hole.
I know it's a hole.
So hey,
that's why I was afraid of falling through the floor.
You know, one thing about this though is that am I going to have a problem with tech with that?
Dude, you know what I would do? I think you should take a page out of Dalton Summit's playbook and like literally self-tapper a floor in that thing.
Oh, I'm probably going to just
do it like cheapy crap shit aluminum leftover stuff.
Yeah.
You know, or what would be even better is a 3/4 inch piece of plywood.
Yeah, but that's fire. I don't want fire. that could be fire. You never know. So
Dude,
I'd rather
you should put the whole entire fuel cell in that hole, and then they just say, "What did you do?" I just cut a sump in here. That's it.
I've got a 12-gallon fuel cell. The one that was in the blue car, that's the one that's going to go in there. So that
it would fall through that hole probably.
Well, I'm going to make a little bracket for it, but and I'm going to put the battery. I'm going to run two batteries probably in it, or at least one. It's going to be legit.
I put it. The less weight you can have, the better, man. I would put one battery in it that's a good Optima high cranking amps battery, or something of that nature, like a absorb glass mat battery, and have at it. Just one really good one.
Dude, I'm actually probably just going to run one of my lead acid batteries because I get them from what's that, Costco, and they've got like a lifetime warranty on them. So
there you go.
Yeah,
let's do that. Yeah, I mean, it probably won't take much to turn it over. This is going to be the turbocharged Slant, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's probably going to be like 8.5 to 1 compression. It'll probably be fine.
Oh no, it's going to be 9 to 1 compression, 9.5 to 1.
What? It still is going to turn over easy. It's only 231 cubes or whatever, 225.
Yeah.
Let's see. BNR says that Professor P. I gave 2 of my 455 crankshafts to a machinist buddy to turn down the counterweights.
Nice. Awesome. I like to see that. That means racing's happening.
Oh, Danny Boyd says, before I jump on Dizzy Izzy's comment here, Danny Boyd says 3/4 RV cam.
No, because you got to have the full RV cam.
Nobody goes full RV, dude.
I'm going full RV, man. I'm going full RV and quarter race. I'm not going to do a half race. I'm going to go straight RV, half quarter race.
Make me happy.
Right.
You make me toe. All right. Dizzy Izzy says, any no-name nationals person buys my small house and 4 acres will get $1,500 check after closing on the market June 15th, Paris, Tennessee. So if you didn't know, Dizzy's trying to sell his house in Paris, Tennessee, and he's offering it up to no-name nationals people at a $1,500 discount. So that's probably pretty significant. You know, if you think about it, that's like, I don't know what the place costs. I mean, let's say it's 10 grand, you're looking at 10% off right there. So, all right. And I don't think I'll be able to do it because I don't even go to divorce court till after August. Oh, till August. So, all right. 38 Racing says, Tech, is there a Lunati cam on discount that would be a good choice for a stock 5.3 in a 3,000-pound car with 411 gears and the 8th?
They just had a big sale this last weekend or the weekend before. And they were just blowing out a bunch of Lunati cams. I can find out what's in
None of those were LS, not one.
They weren't?
Okay. No. Shane and I ran the part number on every single one of them because he sent me a picture at like 7 in the morning, like, hey man, get hot on finding out which cam might fit your junk. I'm like, there's like 20 of them. So I'm like in my PJs looking these things up, trying to find out what they're for. It was like 27 small block Chevrolet cams that were for a 4x4 application. And they were hydraulic flat tappet. Then there was one roller cam that was for hydraulic or for a 4x4 setup. And then there was a full race big block Mopar and a full race small block Mopar kind of setup. But none of them would be beneficial for me. Let's see. But did you know that the Nick's Garage video, they ran a Lunati cam in that Buick? And did you know that in the 1970s, the late 1970s and early 80s, the Lunati camshaft grind for the Buick was the hottest Buick camshaft you could buy?
That's awesome.
And you guys are no longer making Lunati camshafts, right?
No, but here's the thing, though. I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. Comp has made Lunati cams for past 15 or 20 years, maybe 25.
Yeah, when they bought them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I'm not bagging on you. I'm not beating anybody up. I wanted to know if you guys are you going to still sell grinds?
Oh, yeah.
Here's what I'd like to do.
Absolutely.
These I got an Excel profile sheet of every single Buick camshaft ever made, aftermarket. Wouldn't it be cool if I could like say, hey, why don't I reproduce the ones that aren't made anymore that people would find desirable? Like, let's see, the GS Club of America cam called the Hemi Killer, right? Here's
what you do is just register for No Name Nationals. Go talk to Alex So, and he'll set you up your own account, right?
I was just talking about, like, okay.
You got to go register for the No Name Nationals. Go call John Wilburn. Here's my money, sucker. I'm in there. And then you'll have your own cam line. Like, I'm going to have my own cam line, Slant Daily Garage cams.
Well, that's what I wanted to do remember when we made what was that?
BMF.
Oh, the BMF cam.
Yeah. That was the whole thing. Yeah. I wanted to do that for you, man. I thought, because I was already like, man, I made every single camshaft for TA Performance. I designed every single one of those when I was at Crowler. And he was all about slow. I don't want any noise. And I just was like, man, I could do so much better. And he goes, no, they make enough torque. We just want it quiet. And I told Dallas, I said, look, I could make this cam and it's going to be the same performer. It's going to run exactly the same, but it's going to make so much more power because
do you remember the requirements on this camshaft? There was like, if I were to call anybody else, they'd be like, get the fuck off my phone, right?
Yeah.
Because this guy was coming to me with a 430 Buick. He wanted to run power brakes, right? He wanted it to idle. He wanted it to chop, but he still wanted it to run good in a, get this, 1970 Wildcat that weighs like 4,300 pounds.
But I did it.
I said, hey man, I'll see what I can do. I got a buddy that, he's into this kind of stuff and makes custom camshafts. And I called Shade and he was like, does he want anything else? Like, there's really nothing left to ask for, right? And he got me the cam made at the first No Name Nationals. He handed it to me across the fence, if you guys remember seeing that. And I came home and I put it in and I broke the cam in at home, of course, at home. I broke the cam in and I called the dude, hey, your motor's done. All right, I'll be there tomorrow. He drove all the way down from like Indiana. He gets here. He wants me to start it up. I fired up. And I mean, this thing sounds rowdy, and he's like, are you sure that I could run power brakes with this? I said, it's pulling 16 inches of vacuum right now. Right. Oh, well, what's all this clatter? I said, that's called your valve train. It does not like this camshaft, right? I said, to get all that stuff, you had to cram it all in one big profile.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why it was called the BMF. There's like literally nothing left on there. If you had a street big block Buick, this is the cam that you would run like for the street. It would trust me. The TA Performance 284 284-92H or whatever it is, that's the cam that everybody lives and breathes by. I'll guarantee you that BMF will hand it its ass with like 10 to 15 more horse and better vacuum.
Oh, everything, because I did that cam and I told him, I said, I could make this better. And he goes, no, I don't want that. This is what I want. And so when Dallas was telling me this, I was like, dude, I'm telling you, I've made all those cams. I know exactly what we can do. I did boom, boom, boom. But then when Dallas had all these other things, and I was like, this is going to sound like a mechanical. I mean, it was a hydraulic, but it's going to make all
Well,
the
you remember I
noise.
called you? Because I'm like, hey, dude, this thing's clattering like mad. And he's like, yeah, that's called crashback. That's actually the lifter smashing into the face of the cam. Like, holy crap.
It's called crashback. That's it. Just happens. Don't worry about it. Just run good oil. You'll be fine.
Yeah. It's what the guy asked me. He's like, dude, do I got to do anything special? I said, run 1540 Rotella. It's got zinc in it. You know, and then if you know, like at that time, what was it? The Cam, or who was the oil manufacturer? GTX, Castrol GTX didn't come out with their 2050 classic blend yet, or I would have told him to run that. But you can always run the VR1 oil on that stuff, and it'd be just fine. But he wanted it all, and he got it all because when he got it in the car, he's like, "Dude, this thing's got like twice as much power as the 455 had in here." And I'm like, "That's what you asked for, dude. Another happy customer."
That was an awesome cam, man. I remember you called me up, man. This thing's awesome, man. He's so stoked.
It was so choppy. I was like, this dude's either going to be in love or tell me get fucked, right? It was like, if you ever heard Buick with a cam, I mean, they already have this weird sound to them anyway, because they got such a, like they generally have a dish piston, even with like 10 1/4 compression, because they got a small chamber. And the chamber is like a weird shape in comparison to a Chevrolet. It's almost like semi-hemispherical, right? And so they have their own odd sound, but when you throw a cam at them, they sound even weirder, you know. And it's more pronounced, I guess, is the way to put it. If you watch Nick's Garage, where they did the 455 Buick, it's got a Lunata cam in it. You can hear it. It gets choppy, but they still run and start good, which was kind of interesting. Okay, so Bobby Frizzell is asking, are the Marine ABS style Marine carburetors better than the standard ABS?
No, really, they're basically the same. It's just
a different vent on top.
Yeah,
you have a flame arrestor as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the big downside. That's a Coast Guard requirement for if you're using a boat that has a carburetor. It has to have a flame arrestor on top, and the vent. I want to say the vent has to exit the body of the carburetor in case you get a backfire.
It doesn't flame up.
It has to exit off the side of the carburetor, right? Like the vent has to be off the side of the carb. So even if you have a backfire, it can't catch on the fuel in the vent.
Yeah.
So those are Coast Guard requirements. All right. BNR Racing says, Dallas, you see my video short testing my 455 nodular crankshafts with a brass hammer? No. They ring just like forged steel Chevy crankshaft. Need to try on your Buick nodular crankshafts. So BNR, here's something interesting that I found. Okay, Buick and Pontiac were forced to use armor steel as a crankshaft and rod material. It was something that was tested by General Motors in World War II for the facing of tanks. And they used the same technology for the Pontiac and the Buick rotating assemblies. So I know, because I talked to Professor P about this, like, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
When I cleaned the crankshaft, the actual metal looked like white. It had like this white shininess to it, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but it also cast into the crank says armor steel. I'll go look at your video when we get done with the video here tonight, just so I could hear it ring, because I'm really interested in now, because I've rang nothing but Buick crankshafts, and they all sound the same, right? But now if I compared it to like a Ford 351 Windsor crankshaft, maybe there would be a big difference. I don't know. But now you have me very interested. So I'll check it out.
Yeah. You want the highest pitch possible is what you're looking for.
Oh, really? So frequency.
Because it's density. Because
it's actually not frequency, it's pitch.
Yeah. So basically what you're trying to do is find out how dense it is. And the denser it is, the higher the ring is. You can usually tell the quality too. And if it has a dull ring to it, usually means it's got a crack in it somewhere.
It's cracked. Yep. That's what I've heard, is that if it doesn't ring true, or if it's like real like thud sound, then it's generally a crack.
Yeah. If it doesn't ring at all, but you can tell by the ring itself, it's like it's like a bell tone, but the higher the pitch, the better it is. And you can just listen to it. It's a tuned ear. You can pick it up. So like a lot of the LS cranks and the Gen 3 Hemi cranks are really, really good cranks because you can ring them and they're really high pitched.
Okay, Michael Schmidt says Dallas would like to see start posting some easy content. Yeah, I'll get onto that. I'm just trying to get my shit in one sock and kind of move forward. So it's a little bit difficult at the moment just because everything's like it's been neglected for a couple of years and chaotic, and I'm trying to catch back up. But I have been secretly working on this whole week on my father's 70 stage 1 455. It's going to be a bone stock stage 1 455, and that leads me to this next question from Tom Brown, but we'll get to it here in just a second. Okay, Lori Conboy says our 10-second 455 Wildcat runs the same with 1,000 competition thermoquad versus a Pro Systems 1050 Dominator, 55-year-old tech still capable. That thermoquad was the ticket, especially for the Buick crew back in the early 80s. Everyone ran the thermoquads. Okay, so if you were a stock eliminator guy like my old man was, he ran stock eliminator with the Buicks. You had to run, his was 70 stage 1, so you ran the 70 stage 1 carburetor. When you left NHRA competition, you would take it off, and then you would generally add in your thermoquad. And your thermoquad was 1,000 CFM, and it was the killer because it would fit on the same intake manifold. Okay. And then he also had a 2-inch Offenhauser quadrajet spacer. That's one thing that I've been wanting to play with there, Professor P, is I know the Offenhausers are pretty much just showpieces, but
I got a reply.
From who?
Okay, so give me a second here. Let me turn this is actually this is for these people here. Let me turn this on so that way I can read this. Sorry, because I got different glasses on because I'm at that age now. So he's saying that so the Chrysler's hydraulics and the Ford hydraulics will be here at the end will be here this quarter. So that means in the next
3 months.
No, because we're in quarter 2. We're in Q2 right now. So less than a month.
Oh, so it's this quarter.
This quarter.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So I'm going to say basically a month and a half. So this quarter, so before a month 6. So yeah, so I'm going to say by next few weeks, 3 weeks, I would say. So yeah, so you'll have Ford and Chrysler hydraulics here within this quarter. And that's what I was texting back and forth. I wanted to make sure that I could actually say that on the air. So that's why I was texting.
Well, you heard it here first. Nobody else has that information.
Yeah, you can text and find out when parts are coming from, Comp and Edelbrock. So,
so Tom Brown asked me, Dallas, do you know if the factory stage cams for the earlier 400 and 430s had the same notch ring designations as the later 455 cams? I have heard that all stage cams have the notch. And I think that's probably so it's easily identifiable at the dealership, because if you got to remember, some of those came as trunk options. Some of them were bought at the dealership and installed. If you pulled them both out and had them on the table next to each other, you couldn't tell them apart. And I think that notch ring designation was to help the mechanic identify it and be able to put it in easily. Now, here's something that I do know. Okay, so in 1964, 5, 6, the last years of the Nailhead had pretty healthy camshafts in them. And when I had given Professor P a Buick 350 camshaft, matter of fact, from you, Tom, to have the 300 profile put on it so that I could compare the 300s with the Buick 300 head and a Buick 350 head on it, and have a camshaft that was exactly the same, so it was no difference in lift and duration. Some of that carried over to the Buick 300 having a pretty voluptuous camshaft compared to the later Buick 350s. Now, with that said, I got a 1967 Wildcat big port head motor. probably 3 years ago. It was taken out of a 67 Wildcat. My buddy got in Nashville, and he pulled the engine. It sat for like 25 years when he got it, and then it sat another 25 years in his garage. When I got it, it was a hammered bag of dog doo. It was really rusted on the inside, and I had to have it bored 60 over to save its life, but I sent it back out in the world. I did take the camshaft out of that, and this is the first time that Professor P had ever like guided me into measuring a camshaft inside the block. But I just stuck it in a 455 I had that had cam bearings in it, and I put my dial indicator, and we measured the lift and duration on that 67 Wildcat camshaft, and it is exactly the same profile as a stage 1 455, which was baffling to me. But there you go.
Doesn't lie. The cam doesn't lie. Hey, so Dean Stevenson says, but since we're talking about anvils, he goes, but on the Roadrunner versus Wile E. Coyote, the Acme anvil rang at a lower pitch. Was the Coyote a lower density? That's funny. That's way up there. I don't know where you're at. I couldn't even find you.
Yeah, I'm way behind.
Holy you're 30 minutes behind.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay, so
just jump ahead. Go to the bottom of the chat and start there because we've only got 15 minutes left.
Okay, well, here's BNR is asking you an engineering question. Maybe you can answer that.
Sure. What you got?
Engineering question for Professor P. What does the rifle drilled on lightning crankshaft throws do exactly? In both my 455 crankshafts, all 4 throws.
Okay, when you lighten on the crankshaft on the where the pin goes, you're cutting down on some of the bob weight because remember you're dealing with half and 100%. So when you're dealing with the weight up here, that means you have less weight down that you have to do on the big end. So you lighten them up on that end because that's going to be like where the piston is and whatnot. So it counteracts, and also too, it's just less rotating mass. But that's what it really does.
Okay.
Yeah, just jump ahead.
Dakota asked a pretty good question about the BMF cam. He says, and crashback doesn't make it wear out prematurely?
Yeah, well, I mean, define prematurely. It's a race engine. Oh, it's a hot rod engine. So compared to like an OE camshaft, yeah. Compared to a hot rod camshaft, no, it's not going to hurt anything because you're going to drive it so much less. And you're going to run much better oils in your hot rod. So when you're trying to get, I mean, eventually, yes. I mean, technically it will. But once again, you're not trying to get longevity out of these. You're trying to get performance. So there's no free lunch,
Okay. All right. I'm trying not to pass up any good questions. But,
sure.
Okay. BNR is saying, they say the Buick Nailheads 401, 430 have the best engineered intake ports into the cylinder heads and exit out of bowl to cylinder. Never owned one to play with.
I don't know.
I don't think that's true.
No.
Those things did not make near the power that the later big block Buicks did. They came out in 67.
Well, there's a reason why they took those out and put the Hemis in.
Well, the other thing is, if you ever go back and look at drag racing pictures and stuff from the real era, from the 60s and early 70s, you'll see nail heads with, like, say, cross-flow carburetors on the exhaust ports, and the exhaust coming out the top of the engine because it breathed better sucking in through the exhaust port, which is sad. Yeah. There is something interesting to learn here, though. Every single nail head that was made had a steel crank in it that rang better than any other crank that GM made, and that's because it was super high quality at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, the pistons weighed a bajillion pounds because they were shaped like a coffee can and then had this huge dome and stuff. Because you got to see the shape of the chamber on a nailhead. It's kind of like 409 Chevrolet stuff. Like, have you ever seen 409 Chevrolets where part of the chamber is part of the cylinder, part of the it's just weird. It's early architecture stuff. So, yeah. Now, old timer Chevy guy said that to me, Dallas. To be honest with you, he probably was referring to the chamber of because the chamber is not a bad design. It's semi-hemispherical. It's actually be like almost like a Hemi, but the valves are in line, but the chamber is like hemispherical shaped. It's what they call pent roof design. It's like a poly Mopar, right? It's got pent roof design.
Mm-hmm. Can I expand on something real quick? I want to make sure I get this right. So when you were asking me about the throws on those and why they're drilled on those, is because when you're dealing with bob weight, it's 100% of the sum of the rotating mass and half the sum of the reciprocating mass. So because the rotating mass is the big end, that's going to be 100% on both ends. The less weight you can get out of that, the less weight you're going to have to put on the counterweight on the other side if you're going to have, like, say, if you add Mallory metal. And also too, that just helps when you start running higher RPM. And someone put it in there earlier, it makes the needle move faster. Yes, but it also saves you in the long run by having to add Mallory metal.
It also keeps you from wearing out your main bearings prematurely.
Yes.
Yeah, especially your thrust. Okay. Michael Schmidt says cast iron 3-foot long exhaust manifold. What do you paint or coat with to last a couple of years? I have 500-degree paint on accent instead of 2,000-degree VHT. Figure I should learn something. Well, and I've said this in other lives, but you're talking exhaust manifold. I like to use grill paint on headers, like the super high temp grill paint that you know from like Rust-Oleum or. But when you're talking exhaust manifold gets hot and stays hot for a really long time.
Yeah, and it heat soaks.
I don't think it'll last very long on that exhaust manifold because I would assume that the header, even though the header does get hot, it doesn't have near as much heat as that exhaust manifold does.
Yeah, because you're pulling it's a thinner material on a header, and you're dealing with only one tube. Where you're like on this manifold here, you're having all six collect into one spot.
Yeah. I would, if you're looking at just paint that you could do at home, I bet Eastwood has some kind of exhaust manifold paint that they would recommend for like restorations. That would be the one I would use.
Just get it ceramic coated at that point.
You can do that too. You can get them ceramic coated, but golly, or this is going to be pricey.
It's going to be pricey, but if that's what you're going to have, you do them once and you're done.
That's true, and it's going to look brand new till the day you sell it.
Yeah, or
crush it, or whatever.
I got to tell you, man, this week this whole thing's gone by fast. Hey, we got a $10 chat, super chat.
Oh, Michael Schmidt. How am I not seeing these things easy?
I don't. They all of a sudden just pop up out of the blue for me too. I don't know why.
Oh, I got a whole bunch of them that just jumped by. Okay, it must be just slow updating right now. Because I haven't had this kind of issue for a while. Okay, Vintage Adventure Drive says a buddy of mine built a Cadillac Northstar engine back in the early 2000s. He drew the intake charge through the exhaust and ran the outer cylinders on one bank with the inner cylinders on his headers.
He drew the intake charge through the exhaust and ran the outer cylinders on one bank and the inner cylinders on his headers.
That's kind of losing me.
Yeah,
I'd have to see a picture of it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not following that one. I mean, I understand he's probably drawn it the opposite direction, but I'm the inner cylinders and outer cylinders that's throwing me for a loop.
But Michael Schmidt, thank you so much for donating.
We're gonna do John Wilbur in here
to our StreamYard cause.
Keeps the lights on. There you go.
Yeah,
that's John Wilbur.
Thanks so much for donating to our StreamYard cause.
Yeah. Now, okay, you guys have donated enough, so now I expect you to pay for 1 month.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to buy it in the bulk, man.
Oh, is it a year, or does it go by the month?
The years. Oh no, you can buy it in a month. I don't know if it bills you per month. I need to look at it. I haven't went past the, hey, you owe us money if you want to continue to stream page. But I think it's $35 a month, but I think it bills you all at 1 year.
Oh,
yeah.
That sucks.
We the King says, while there was truth to my needle comment, there was just as much humor.
It's the truth. Yeah.
Okay.
But gun drilling does make. I didn't even answer the gun drilling. Gun drilling actually not only does it make it lighter down the center, but actually, believe it or not, kind of makes it a little stronger too. Because remember, force runs on the outside of materials. So, just saying, there doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt the integrity of it.
Well, he says he looked into drilling full through the Pontiac 455 rod throws, but would drill into the mains. I wouldn't gun drill a crank unless it was steel.
Yeah,
that's me.
Absolutely.
The only time I've ever seen it done was on a steel and billet cranks. That's it.
Yeah. See, on ones like that, instead of drilling them straight through, on some of those you have to drill at an angle. I've done that too on some of the stock cranks.
Here's something interesting. 38 Racing says grill paint has worked for me on manifolds. Clean first. Vinegar works for that.
Okay, well, good.
So there you go. You get them nice and clean, and you get the grill paint soaked in there. And I'm sure you probably have to do, like, if you have an engine start stand like I do, or you got something that you can start it in and you can reach to the outside, I bet you can start it up, get them nice and warm, shut it off, let it cool, start it up again, let it get warm, and you can season it on there and then touch up as necessary. It'll probably last for a while then. BNR says that Pontiac strangely offset drill Professor P stay well away from rod oil host domains. Okay.
Yeah. Also, too, it really comes down to, well, Pontiac was actually really the best one on this. They actually had the best oiling going through from the main to the rod. They were hitting at the 80-degree mark from center. So, and that actually helps with the laminar flow on the bearings. I've talked about it a few times, but that's actually the best.
So JP1 special, I used POR 15 high temp coating, but not sure how long it will last. So there you go. There's an option. KS Skyhawk, which I don't know if you know him, is Roger. He is a retired engineer. He said that the combustion chamber of the Buick nailhead is called a Penta roof design, or Penta design. A high compression ratio runs on lower octane gas. I did not know that, and I bet you that's why the poly is the way it is. Vintage Adventure Drive says, I meant to say the intake ports were made into his exhaust ports. He basically made his header a dual plane. Outer cylinders on one bank and inner cylinders on the other. Okay. Yeah, it made almost like a 360-degree header setup, except for it's broken to two. Right?
Okay, that makes sense now.
It's just center ones and then outer ones.
Yeah. If you're going to drill into your mains, one way to look at it, if you want to visualize it, is take a wooden rod and then put it through the rod that goes through the main, and then look onto the end of it. You can actually kind of visualize where that line's going to be, and then you can drill, into the rod from that point. So you won't hit it.
So this our group is such a bunch of interesting people. Tom Brown, if you didn't know this, is essentially a blacksmith. Okay, he's like metallurgist, if there's such a thing. You can season a cast iron pan like a cast iron manifold like a cast iron pan. Use avocado oil. It's very high flash point. Once it's polymerized, will handle very high temperature. Think cast iron pan over an open flame. That's actually pretty cool. That's probably one of the best things I've heard. I wonder if it would almost be worth it to put it on the start stand and do that on a video.
That would be good.
It would be good, I think. But that brings us to the end of the evening. So, yeah, we literally have 20 seconds left until we're cut off. So I'm not going to mess around because StreamYard will throw us out of here if we eat up too much time. And so I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by tonight. I hope tonight's live brought you the peace that you needed in your life. I'd also like to thank Mr. John Wilburn and Professor P. And we're at 2 hours.
Yeah.
So visit John Wilburn on Friday night. And we're out.
You guys take it easy, man. Have a good night.